Sweet man. All right, here we are, episode number 4. Let's get rocking and rolling. We got Mitch here again, and we're gonna start off with things in the news. And I have something that is right up your alley, Coach. Like
Yes.
this guy almost sounds like you. He's almost living your
Oh,
life.
it's so funny.
It's that CrossFit quarterback. There's this guy in the NFL playing for the Bears. Justin Fields is out right now with an injury. And I've never heard of this guy before. Last name is Bajent, something like that. From a Division II school, it called Shepherd University. Have you seen the interview on this guy or anything?
Yes, of course I researched it. He has 169 touchdowns. He's passed for 169 touchdowns, most in any division at all. So Division 1, Division 2, whatever. It reminds me of Danny Woodhead, how it was just like he was underrated, went to Shattern State, and like broke all these sorts of records. And like you wouldn't hear about him, but he was a stud in the NFL. And now Big Tyson, he's got to win in the NFL. How many quarterbacks have never started, played, and he's got to win like 1%, man. He's just up there. Very cool story. His dad owns a CrossFit gym, and he's been doing CrossFit
Okay.
his whole life. And his dad was an announcer. Like it shows videos of him announcing Rich Froning when Rich Froning started. So he just has all that the ties to CrossFit.
Okay, so this is something that he's been doing for a long time. So it's not just something. Okay, so if any of you didn't catch the interview, basically what this guy said, he's like, "All right," or somebody asked him, "What's your backup plan like if you didn't plan on going to the NFL?" Because just like every Division II player, I'm sure he really didn't expect to go to the NFL, but here he is, and he said his backup plan was to basically CrossFit his life to death and get as ripped and jacked as he possibly could and teach high school. I'm not sure what subject at a local high school in town. I was like, dude, that sounds a little bit
It,
like Mitch, just like, and he's tatted
well,
up from head to toe. That's kind of up your alley too.
yeah. It's just funny, just because he's an average Joe. It's not like, oh man, I was raised this way, or I was going to be in the NFL. I knew it. My dad named me champ. It was in our blood. Like, no, it was the fact that he's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a regular guy. You can relate to him, because it's just like, it's a teacher. Okay, if I don't do this, then I'm going to teach in CrossFit. Like, that's just, it's a normal thing to do.
Right,
So it was
right.
pretty sweet. Yeah.
That's
And I
awesome.
just hope he just tears it up. And who knows how long they'll stay or be in the league, but it's just cool watching him. And you've got a lot of people rooting for him. It's just, it's neat to see.
Right. They said something like, he maybe had like 60 or so people there cheering him on. I'm sure like everybody's just like, oh, like coming out of the woodworks to support him, because he's out there. Hopefully he had that many people supporting him at Division II as well, too.
Oh, for sure. And it was neat, like I saw the reposted through a lot of the CrossFit affiliates. They're like, this kid does CrossFit, he just does this. But his dad said the reason how CrossFit's helped him, yes, it's got him stronger, faster, and all that. But it just helped him through adversity. Like when you go through workouts and it's just kind of like you feel like you're down, but you know that you can grind hard enough and get through it. Like even though you're tired, you're weak, you just feel in those moments where it's like, oh, I can't go on. You find it. And when you practice that, you're going to play that way. And so that's what his dad was talking about, was just he's going to go through adversity, and he's good. Like I'm not afraid of him going down a touchdown or anything like that. He's going to be able to do it and fight through.
Yeah. I mean, that's what a lot of what we do with our clients and stuff like that actually relates to that a lot because it's, a lot of times, you come into bumps in the road, you think that maybe you put limitations on the things that you feel like you can actually accomplish. And I'm sure people put limitations on him as well, too, being a D2 athlete. And he just didn't let that get him down. He just, kept his head down. And like I always like the saying, just keep on chipping away, and he just kept on
Yeah.
chipping. But
Yep, for
anyway,
sure.
so
And now look at him, 1%, man. He's the top.
I know, right? Um, okay, so that kind of all skip around here a little bit, but like that brings up a question here. And I always remember in college, I'd always talk to my buddies and stuff about this same question because, we played D3 basketball and we're always like, all right, so would you rather just be a stud like this agent kid, at Division II and rack. He got the whatever the equivalency was of the Heisman Trophy at Division II, and just be a stud at Division II and get all these accolades, recognition, but on a smaller scale? Or would you rather go to a university of your choice, Alabama, whatever, wherever you want to go, and just be like an average Joe?
Yes. So as you know, my wife coaches softball here, right? And so there's a lot of the people that are around our area that are going D1. I guess they're not going D1. There's a couple girls who've been going D1, and they go up to this school and just get handled. I don't even know if they're never having a winning season. They're not good at it, but they can say, "Oh, we played Division I softball. Look at me, blah blah blah." But it's like they they're just getting rocked, and that's got to be discouraging. And so it's just like, okay, do you want to go and play on a Division I school, or go to a D2 school and do a little bit better? And I know you were saying being a stud at one, or riding the bench at Duke. Like, if we're talking basketball, then it's like, okay,
Right.
you pick one of those power schools where it's like, okay, I played for Duke though, or I played for Kansas, and you have the best coaching ever. But on the other hand, you're still winning at that point. But it's also another question on, you want to win, you want to lose on a D2 school or have a winning Division III school. Like uh, Abby coached played at Augustana, and they're always going to the national championship or making that tournament, that final tournament. Do you want to win at a D3 level, or do you want to take your licks at a Division I? So it's
So
kind of
what's
that
your
same question.
so what's your pick? I don't. You can't skirt
I,
around it, Coach. I know the two
I
options here.
I go D1, man.
You go
And the
D1.
reason why, yes, I go D1 is because of connections. You always have those connections to those bigger schools, and you're flying places. You're getting the bags. You're getting the things. Like, so I'd love to ride the bench at Colorado right now, because you're riding the bench and you're standing right next to the rock on the sideline. And just going back to this whole Dion thing, you have those perks that you don't get Division II. You
Right.
get whatever you want to wear. You get the training table. You get the ice baths, and you get all that treatment, and you get treated that way. At a division school, you don't have those facilities.
Okay. So I really wanted to argue with you and go the opposite way, but I think I'm on the same path as you here. It's just like, okay. And my reasoning behind this is because I would go Division I, the highest level I could possibly go, because, and this really depends on the athlete though, because you have to be mentally strong and mentally prepared if you decide to go Division I, because you have to imagine these are the best of the best athletes, from their particular high school. They're used to being the studs, right? So it's not going to be easy. But what I will say, if you're on that roster, there are injuries, there are sicknesses, there are things that happen, and you will eventually get your shot. Okay. But it's not guaranteed. But what I'm saying is something always happens. Now, your shot, your window is just so small, and you got to take advantage of that window, but the opportunity will be there.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, man. So I don't know. This kind of goes hand in hand now that we're talking about, trying to go to the highest level you can possibly go. Um, Speaking of like specialization, when it comes down to like youth sports, junior high, high school, I mean, I think we all know what specialization is. It's like, okay, at some point, a kid is probably going to choose one sport or athletics or activity at some point in their life. Okay. How early does a kid start to do that process, in your opinion?
Um, it's tough, man. It's just a hard question. I don't think they should do it right away. And even if they kind of pick and specialize, they might get on a travel ball team, but I think they should still make time for the other sports. I don't think that it should be a full-time deal where they're doing it all year long. It's tough, and I don't think so. I don't think it should happen.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I kind of feel, every kid should be well-rounded, you know, and well-rounded, that's different to each and every person. And I think part of the reason why parents start to specialize so early, it's like a fear of falling behind, you know, because it's like when you get around the big cities, like if you're not specializing early, you almost feel like, oh man, like I, in order just to make the high school team, I got to specialize, at kindergarten. You know, it's like there's youth leagues starting all the way down at kindergarten now, and it's just like I just think that kind of what you do. You have a CrossFit for kids at your gym. I'm kicking around the idea of doing something like that, but just like moving, jumping, getting coordinated, things like that. I think that's so important for kids. And then, like, in high school, they're going to have to choose somewhere down the road which one they enjoy the best and start specializing then. But you got time.
Yeah. But like, I think parents are scared of, well, they're not going to make it their freshman year. And then if they don't make it, then they're out. Then they're not going to play the rest. So yes, I
Right.
get that fear, but you're right. I think if you're not well-rounded like that, then it's going to be tough. I don't think you'll be as good as you could have been if you're not well-rounded.
Sure.
And I think it prevents injuries too, being able to do all that.
Right. And I mean, like, we're on both sides of the ball here because, I do some sports specific training with basketball. Your wife does some sports specific training with softball, like, so what is the perfect age for her clients?
Yeah. Well, and you're going to be running into that with your boys. Like, when are you going to stop having him? I know Trey's playing soccer and but of course you want him to play basketball, but it's like, okay, so when are you going to start pulling back on these other sports and just start going into basketball? Or even now, one of the questions is, are you going to let him play football?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, in the scheme of things, it kind of is, but it kind of is. Well, if he's going to play or not, yeah. But when are you
Right.
going to let him, or when getting more specific on it is very tough decision as a
Sure.
parent and just in overall of when do you let him do it?
Yep. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, and the reason why we kind of tied that in there, is because you have this quarterback that's a CrossFit athlete, that is well-rounded. You have these stories of a lot of the athletes that make it to that next level that you hear they didn't specify in their sports. They did everything, and I think that's a common misconception for people is that we need to specify early because it's going to get you the best results. And I just don't necessarily think that's the case.
And I think that one of the big things is you look at the Little League College World, or not Little League College World Series, Little League World Series. You have all of these kids that just play travel ball, baseball, 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 and they make the Little League World Series, which is huge. How many of those become MLB pitchers? How many of those become MLB athletes? And I don't think that number is very large, because I think it'd be like burnout, injuries, overworking, that like, just when you're throwing that much as a little kid and it's overwork that one
Sure.
specific skill.
Yeah. All right, man. Switching gears here a little bit. Okay, so you were on fall break, is that correct? So you had a little
Yeah,
trip.
yeah,
I had a nice little outing to Philadelphia, went to a football game. It was awesome.
so rad.
So we're going to talk a little bit, just like, the people that are listening to us are on health journeys, okay? And you're going to go on vacation when you're on a health journey. It's just that's the way life is because you're going to do it. So I'm going to talk about, ask you, how do you do it? But first off, I think the most important thing when you go on a trip, I think the biggest thing to nail down are expectations. Like, what are the expectations for this trip? I went into this trip, I knew it was a 3-day trip. I'm just like, 3 days, it's not going to derail me. I tried to make conscious decisions along the way, and I'll talk about that. But my mentality was, I'm going to enjoy a few drinks. I'm going to enjoy some food that I don't necessarily do that often. And I was okay with my nutrition not being perfect. So what was your mentality when you guys made your trip, and tell us where you went?
It's kind of the same thing that we were talking about. I don't sit back and be like, oh, I'm uptight. I don't have that. You don't want to be that weirdo at the birthday party that doesn't eat cake.
Right.
It's just you don't want to be that guy. So, we went to Redlands, California, and actually we went to Idlewild in Redlands, California. Idlewild's a mountain town. It's like a small Big Bear,
Yeah, I
and
recognize
it's
it from
just
the
kind of in
Outcast
the
CD back in the day.
right. That's what I was telling Alex, and I started listening to those songs. Awesome songs. But
That's funny.
so it was like 45 minutes away from that Idlewild. So we stayed in Idlewild, a little mountain town. It was nice. But then we went to the Redlands, this pumpkin patch, which was huge, live oak pumpkin patch, I think. But I had that conversation with my wife. She was like, "Oh, are you going to get this? Are you going to this?" I had the snow cone. We had the funnel cake. We had this, and it was like, "Are we going to get it?" I'm like, "Yes, we're going to get it." And are we going to get this? And I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to buy that for my daughter on vacation. I'm going to buy that little thing. We're going to splurge. It's a vacation." But when we go back, when she asked for an LOL doll in the Walmart, no, it's not the time. Am I going to get that
Right.
extra ice cream at home? No, that's not the time. So, like you said, you set those expectations of, no, I'm not going to buy this LOL doll at the store. No, I'm not going to have this ice cream. But when we're on vacation, yes, I'm going to splurge a little bit because I've worked hard enough to either have that extra money or have that bank of calories that I can, that I can eat.
Right. So, okay, let's start with nutrition, I guess. First is, yeah, expectations. And what the one thing that I do try to be conscious of is every time on vacation that I sit down and eat, I try to have some source of protein along with whatever it is that I'm eating. Now, not always is that the case. Like we got donuts one morning. Well, there was no protein there. It's just like it's not going to be perfect, but that's one rule that I try to follow with that. And like if I know that, like if it's a 1 day type of event or something, I'll do something called like a protein fast where literally that's all I eat in the morning leading up to it, because I know there's this big event leading or that's leading up to the end of the night. So I can have the drinks, I can have whatever I want to eat. So basically what a protein fast is, or what I call it, kind of just self-proclaimed, is try to just focus on protein early in the day so you can enjoy your fats and carbs later in the day.
Yes. That's a way to go, man. And with me, we drove to this one, so I brought my protein, and I just have a canister of it because it's like I don't know I don't know where we're going to eat. I don't know what their menu looks like. Of course, I'll try and order protein, but if it's not available, I'm not going to throw a stink and be like, they don't have protein. Let's go somewhere else. Like if my daughter loves pizza, we're going to go get, if we stop at a pizza place, I'm going to have a protein shake before that because a meat lover's pizza isn't going to have a ton of protein on it.
Right.
So that's the case. I try and bring that along with me, or like you said, anytime I can get it. We went to the donut shop. I got a breakfast burrito filled with eggs and sausage. So I try to get it whenever I can. I'm going to prefer that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And then as far as moving your body and everything, like, I mean, I don't know. It just depends. Like I still try to move my body, like get a workout in. I went to the fitness center one day. I know that I'm probably not going to work out every single day, but I did get to the gym at least one day. If I'm not going to do that, then I just try to make sure that I hit 10,000 steps, like make small conscious decisions, take the stairs rather than the escalators. And like Trey came along with, and literally I was racing him. He was going on the escalators and I was racing him along the stairs, and we turned it into a game in the airport, because there were so many escalators in the Minneapolis airport, and I was just getting my steps in that way, because I didn't work out that day. So take the stairs, not the escalators.